Welcome to Crazy Belief with Nelsa. I am so excited today to finally get this YouTube channel off the ground. Um, what started as probably a journey 2 years ago, kicking off my first live seminar with Crazy Belief for women to empower and uplift, led me to a podcast. And ultimately, here I am today with this YouTube channel. And so, what I'm doing is really sending out light and love to all of you as you continue on your journey, whatever your path may be, to self actualization and fulfillment in your purpose here on this world. And sharing part of my journey as it continues to unfold is what I believe I've been called to do as a part of my purpose. And so today I want to just share with you just a little bit of my journey since a couple years ago. I won't tell you the whole story. 46 years is a long time to kind of unfold, but from the last 2 years with the death of my dad, sort of revamping my whole life, my whole mindset in terms of really setting forth intention and believing that what God had for me was for me, that the universe is on my side, helping things to unfold. Became a real ardent believer in the law of attraction, because the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so shall he be. So really what we think about is what we create. And that's exactly what the law of attraction is about, that we attract things to us through our thoughts, through our thinking, and most of all through our feelings. And so this journey over the last couple of years, through grief, through disappointments, through shame, even feeling like my life was falling apart publicly in front of people. And how did I put the pieces back together? Who was this Nelsa supposed to emerge as in this day and age? And so here I come out of this chrysalis. Finally, it feels like, after so much work, after so much thought, after, in fact, so much rest. Honestly, people, those people who say we don't need to rest, we can sleep when we die, that's a real fallacy, because it will keep you trapped in a life that is not truly about your purpose. It's a life that may not truly be what God has for you, because we're running and running and running and running. And Lord, I had the best runs to never hit a lick on the street, but I was always running mentally. I was always running emotionally. I was always running from relationships that really challenged some core programming and beliefs that I had. And until I got still with myself, and I know the coronavirus has been an awful, awful version of how badly things can go wrong, but it can also show us, if we take the time that God gives us to be quiet, to be still, and to listen to that inside voice, what we come away with, jewels. I mean, really jewels, people. So I share that to say this is a part of my journey. I wanted to be an encourager. I wanted to see people happy. I wanted to see people filled with love. I wanted to see people emerging as their best selves. But part of the problem 2 years ago when I kicked this off was I hadn't started with me yet. I hadn't gone far enough into the process yet. And so I wondered, why did the YouTube channel seem so hard to get started? Why was it difficult for me to come up with other seminars to do for people? Why did it feel like I had all these ideas and all of this energy that I felt like God was giving me, but I was running from me? And so I tell you that to say, if there is something that God has purposed you for, if there is a gift inside you that you feel like you just cannot reach and you cannot access it at this point in time, then maybe you need to take a break and really get clear about who you are, what God has given you, and to make sure that maybe you're doing all these things for the right reasons. I know for me previously, a part of my past life was I was pleasing everybody, everybody. I had so many people on pedestals higher than God in my life, and they were idols. My parents were my idols. My grandparents were my idols. My children were my idols. And so even my ex relationships, all of them, I had made pleasing other people my main priority, and pleasing God had fallen by the wayside. And I really think that I'm one of those people who, I love God. I love Jesus. I love all those great spiritual masters who have been sent to show us light and love and enlightenment. And I kept thinking to myself, why is my life falling apart? I've been a good girl. I've done the right things. I've tried to follow the right rules. So why is my life falling apart in front of me right now? Um, and it was very difficult. Even saying that to you publicly in this big old forum, which is the World Wide Web, is difficult because I felt like I had lived a life that should have been sort of a upstanding pillar, and it was all coming apart, and I could not control it anymore. I did have some control issues, I will be honest, and all the things that were happening in my life were part of this just feeling like I had to control the outcomes. Things had to look the way I had imagined them in my head, as opposed to really following my heart and doing what God had called me to do. And so now I feel like I have been in a place of brokenness. And we see several examples of broken people who have gone on to do great things all over the Bible, all over the world. When we see, figures from television, people who have lost it all, who have come back to, really be great leaders, whether it was in business or sports or acting or the religious world, whatever it may be. But I had my own season of brokenness. And so I want to encourage you, if this is your season, this is the season where your face feels like it's on that floor every day, where you feel like your tears are soaking up and leaving a trail everywhere you go. If you feel like the shame is so heavy that you can't shake it, just know that season is not going to last always. That season is not going to keep you from God's best for you. That season is only preparing you for what's to come. You're going to get off that floor. You're going to wipe those tears, and you're going to again be able to hear clearly without disruption, without all the noise of everybody else chattering in your head what you should do, who you should be, how you should show up in the world. You're going to hear from God. God's going to give you exactly that thing in exactly the right way, in exactly the right steps, and you're going to be a light to those around you, so bright that they're going to know there's something different about you. So just hang in there, keep being encouraged, keep being still. If you don't have any peace about the decisions you're making right now, that was one thing that I've really learned in this journey is stop, just stop, just stop. And listen, be still, work on meditation. It was one of the hardest things for me. It's still sometimes very difficult for me, but meditating to be able to hear clearly from God is one of the greatest gifts that we have. Before we make a move, just stop. Just ask for clarity. Just ask for direction. Just ask for the divine rightness. And then when you hear, act. Act with that inspiration. Act with that obedience. Act with that that urgency. Know then that it's the time to get things moving. That's kind of what's happened for me. Is before I couldn't make anything happen, and I had been I'm an Aries, and so I'm always pushing, and I'm gonna make that thing happen, and I'm gonna move that mountain. And I do believe that through faith we can move mountains, but I also know that faith without works is dead. But works that are being done without inspiration, without divine guidance, well, you're just going to be out there in the wilderness longer than you have to be. Sometimes you just got to stop. You got to be able to hear. You've got to be able to be inspired. And then when you act, you're going to put something out there in the world that is so blessed, that is so bright, that is so at the right time, that it can't help but work. it can't help but lift and encourage. And so I just want to leave you with this final thought today. It's not over. The battle is not over, is what we often hear. But that battle is, let's think of it as that batter. We got to put the ingredients in. We've got to mix and stir. We've got to put that batter on the stove or in the oven or wherever it needs to go for whatever you're making. And so it's gotta take time, and heat has to be applied to it in order for that batter to rise and be its fullest potential before it's over. And then when people take a bite out of that batter, it's gonna be so good. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is Nelsa, and don't stop crazy believing people in your dreams. Don't stop crazy believing in God. He's not through with us yet. Spirit is going to guide us into some new places, and I just can't wait to see what happens. Tune back in for more Crazy Belief with Nelsa.